Half a day, and welcome to the after party.
Yep, because we just want to keep on partying.
That's right.
And so, we talked about the Johnny Mayor, and I think one of the things that we haven't been able to discuss since the last after party, Congressman Mike Nicholas and these bombshell allegations. Where's your WhatsApp at there, Bree?
That were dropped by his former chief of staff and
right.
campaign chairperson, John Paul Manuel.
There was a lot of stuff that was basically first alleged that Congressman Mike Nicholas used congressional campaign funds to fund parts of his affair with an alleged mistress who was later hired as a staffer into the congressional office. And then from there, he went on and filed a local complaint with the Guam Election Commission that alleged that there was a $10,000 over the limit donation to his congressional campaign that he allegedly laundered down into smaller donations, so he didn't have to reveal who the big donor was.
And then there was when he filed to run for re-election for senator in 2017.
So he raised a bunch of money telling people he's running for senator, and then he didn't run for senator, he ended up running for Congress. And so
he didn't file the paperwork.
That paperwork was never closed out, so the election commission was basically like, hey, what happened to this money? And there's that.
Failure to file the financial reports from
and
the
so
2018
he's also
election.
been pinged by the FEC for a failure to file.
Well, I remember something one of our leaders, one of Guam's leaders had said, and I remember it really stuck with me. Well, if you don't have anything in writing, it didn't happen and it's not valid. Which I think applies to this case, right? If you didn't file your paperwork and do the responsible thing and get the documents in on time or do things the right way based on the rules, and you don't have proof and anything valid in writing, I guess it didn't happen. Who was that again?
That was Congressman Mike Nicholas.
Oh, shoot.
That's something he said to the legislature, I see what you're saying. There's this dichotomy where when he messes up, if he does take responsibility for it, which
you can't blame it on a staffer, then it's somebody else's
What was the
fault.
statement, though, that we got when the Guam Election Commission first noticed him? They gave him a deadline. You need to file your financial campaign contribution
So
reports.
he was supposed to file, because the GEC is the local state office of the Federal Election Commission, he's supposed to file with them, and he hasn't been.
But they were rebuilding. Was it rebuilding?
Yeah, so
was it
his
rebuilding?
district director said that they were rebuilding the data files or something weird like
And
that.
Maria was like, we'd never heard of that.
Yeah, apparently
You're a former member of the Guam Election Commission, Ron, just sitting there all quiet.
Yeah. He's loaded. Have you ever heard of rebuilding data files for a campaign finance report?
Well, sometimes if they've misplaced the files or like, for example, there are people running around here running these official interest groups. They never file any of the paperwork. They raise money hand over fist. They never file the paperwork. And nobody ever calls them on it. Nobody ever forces them to follow the law. The law is pretty clear on what they have to do.
Right.
There's no enforcement. And so while we have a election commission process, there's rarely any enforcement of any of these rules by anybody.
Yeah.
Luckily,
That's why I think politicians don't take it seriously. They're like, oh, GEC, huh?
Oh hell, no, that's crap. I took it serious.
Yeah.
Somebody over donated. I returned the money, and I went to GEC panicking. I was like, oh no, how do I return it? Did I do this right? Here, I annotated it here. Here's a copy. Here's the bank record. It's all there. No, that's crap. No, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I think some people take it serious, right? And I'm speaking for myself. I think it was even to the point where I was so concerned with even the appearance of taking campaign funds and reimbursing myself. No, come on, somebody donated money, I'm gonna put my own money in. So not every candidate is out there doing those things, right? Reimbursing themselves.
They're not. I know, because I've looked at everybody's campaign finance.
And so no, I don't want to make it seem like it's a regular thing with candidates. Now, I will agree with these political organizations, it is an issue. But what we have here is an actual complaint, right? That has to be dealt with. And so there's an actual complaint, actual allegations that somebody more than likely signed an affidavit and signed, by under threat of perjury to those demerits of those accusations, and they need to look into it. And I think it still matters, right? It still matters because whether if these things come out or not, right? It's kind of the soul, and it's a representation of the island as a whole in D.C.
And
Right.
I've been a public official for the past 33 years, including today. I'm still, and I always still have to file. And twice I was noted that I was late, and of course they threatened me that they're going to send my name over to the Attorney General's office, I believe. And but I've never really, when I was running for the CCU, I never, campaigned for any money, but I did at one time receive large sums. People just decided to give me some, even though I wasn't, campaigning for funds. I always supported my own election, and I had a problem with that in trying to, spend it so that I can reflect it on my, on my report, because anyway, I got noted twice that I was late, and I was threatened, that they're gonna send my name over. But eventually, the very next day, I just jump on it, and it's basically I really just forgot the time. It's not that I forgot to do my job,
Right.
My obligation.
They're
It's
easy
just
to
the
work
timing.
with though over there.
Yeah.
They're so
They're very
easy
easy.
to work with, and they will help you out if you're earnest. in
And
trying to
actually,
do
I
it.
have one master, that I just changed the time, the date, and
Right.
and
'Cause no change.
because there's no change.
Well,
you know.
this is just the beginning, because from
Yeah.
what we understand, John Paul Manuel plans to file ethics complaints.
Yeah, I
on
spoke
the
with
f-
him today, so he said he's
Okay.
still filing. It's being reviewed by, I guess he's got a lawyer that, because you file these complaints, they can call you into Congress, and they can make you testify. So
And
I'm
that's-
pretty sure he's trying to cover all his bases as well. And just go back to this, because there was just so much put out there.
There was.
And people were kind of trying to diffuse the argument by saying that, if he's going to, whoever he sleeps with, that's his business. But actually, the House rules, this is a story we did, the House rules forbid relationships between staffers and members of Congress. So all those people
That's
are
clear.
saying, it doesn't matter, that's his
Yeah.
personal life. Well, it's not. I
No,
mean,
it's not.
strictly
That's clear.
prohibited as part of his
Yeah.
professional job. Dr. McNinch says, I know this just really reminds me of UOG and the work you've done over there. So go ahead.
I just, I'm disappointed, and I think I don't want to sound judgmental, but I'm just very disappointed that these things have came up, and I wish they didn't come up. I hate to see when things like this do come up. If you search nationally, it's like, I forget, it's 4 to 7 members of the House of Representatives are undergoing this very question. They're accused of funding external affairs using campaign monies.
Right.
It's not something that's all that unusual. It's not
Right.
an only on Guam thing.
Right.
It's just if they're proven, they're proven. But I think that it's nothing that's outside of the realm of realities of things that happen.
Well, having said that, is this all these issues that have come up? Is it a make or break type issue heading into, I guess, his re-election bid?
Too early to say. And I think if I'm being completely honest, he has a very strong base. I mean, the same people who are saying, well, I don't care, it's his own personal life, could care less. Could care less even if it was an ethical violation of the rules.
Right.
You know, even if that's found, they're not going to suddenly think like, oh, well,
There
then
goes
it
that
is
guy.
wrong. There goes that guy. No.
Guess he's not responsible.
That doesn't even matter.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Whether he follows the rules or not, it's not going to matter to those people.
How many people are we talking about? Because
Well,
I've heard this. We've talked about this. I feel like people overestimate because they don't really know what Congressman Nicholas's base is. I feel like we don't have an accurate representation of that because of there's a lot of different things going on in the last election. Like, I just can't believe that 14,000 people voted for him because they're his base. I think that there just really wasn't any other candidate.
Yeah, but it starts with the base.
Sure, okay.
Right? And then everything else could be, conjecture based on where they are in the process, right? Look at Madeline. Like, she had like an open ethics investigation. It didn't really hurt her that much.
Right.
She got hurt on everything else with the campaign. That was kind of just left in the wind. So it might even be potentially, a no issue on it. And I think we even see this, nationally with a couple of other, questions on ethical and professional impropriety, on the national stage.
I think this is much more base than that.
Yeah.
I think that this is
They just couldn't keep
a
it in your
biblical
pants, kinda.
story. I'm sorry.
Right.
This
But
is more than that.
It's
I
hard
think.
though. It's hard because even
No
like
pun intended.
Oh, we going there?
it's a difficult
going there?
situation
Oh, sorry,
because even in the army, right? Army, it's against regulation. You can get kicked out for an extramarital affair.
Right.
But the burden
Yeah.
of proof
Sure.
is so difficult, without you potentially having to videotape, right? It's your word against theirs.
Yeah.
It's nearly, and I think he's smart enough to know that. He's
And
smart
I
enough to
think
know it's
John
gonna
Paul
be-
Manuel probably is smart enough to know, to have his ducks in a row.
Yep.
And, I mean, why would you come out with these allegations without being able to back it up?
What I think what he said was it was context, but I think maybe the main focus and the main thing that I think most people would probably change their support because of would be the campaign finance, right? So if there was a misuse of it, I think that would be potentially the bigger issue.
I think that's. I mean,
everyone still loved JFK and Bill
Yeah.
Clinton regardless of what happened,
Right,
Right.
right.
Unfortunately,
I
that's
think
kind of
the campaign finance stuff. I mean, I've reported on a lot of people's campaign finance, especially Congressman Nicholas. There are just a lot of things that kind of make you scratch your head. And when John Paul Manuel came out with these allegations that he would often buy things for his personal use and then reimburse himself with campaign funds. I mean, if you go through his campaign finance filings, I mean, it's just pretty much all reimbursements.
yeah, but
And we're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars. And I think what that does is enables him to hide in some ways what he's really spending the money on.
See, but if you do it, it doesn't matter because you're fake news.
Yeah.
Chris. The
did you-
GEC needs to be the one
Right,
to audit
right.
it.
What did you think of his response though, after John Paul Manuel came out with the allegations, and then he went on Facebook, and then he issued his response to it, and basically was like, well, there's a FBI investigation into
Yeah. So his
corrupt-
response was kind of like, oh yeah,
corruption.
the FBI is investigating all these people. Why don't you go look over here?
I could just make a phone call, make a complaint, or an allegation to the FBI, or make somebody's as a congressman, he could say somebody's trying to extort him. Doesn't need to be true,
Right.
Because the only thing they verified, is a complaint was made.
Yeah.
So you can make that call and then construe it in some way, but it would be I'm not necessarily making a false call, but I could call the police and say I really fear I'm in danger of my life. It's not necessarily something that's difficult to prove on some of these.
But he
things.
basically chalked it up to a vast left-wing conspiracy.
and I don't know, that's kind of crazy to me. But Doc,
Go ahead,
Well,
Doc.
really quickly, I was just going to mention, in the last couple of weeks, I talked to J.P. Manuel. I was impressed with him. He's
Yeah.
smart. He's articulate. He knows what he's talking about.
Not a whack job.
He's not. Exactly.
Yeah.
He's not somebody who's the sky's falling. He has a very deliberate demeanor. He's professional. He's not somebody who I believe, just watching his character, would just come up with these kinds of things. But I do believe that he was concerned that things had been wrong. And I think that's probably part of his motivation.
Oh, he got reamed for it too. I mean,
Right.
just
Oh, yeah.
there were people who were like, "Why now?" And then there were people who just went in, and this is Nicholas's social media base, who just went in on insults and cyberbullying, and I think that's what really it's kind of like a chill effect where people don't want to come out and say things because they're scared they're going to get mobbed.
Well,
that's
are
the
you surprised?
whistleblower.
Yeah.
That's the whistleblower.
But
you
are
see
you
it, there was
surprised
total-
about that though?
No, I'm not. It's
because
part
he
of the course.
created that.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Hey, I'm the only one who cares for you. Everybody else is corrupt.
No one
and they're
ever did
trying-
anything.
No one ever done anything.
Yeah,
I'm the only
yeah.
one. That's how he created his whole career.
Sure.
Without actually not doing much himself. And so that's he created that, right? He created that mindset and that bully mindset that anybody who comes after me is coming after all of you. right? And which was very smart, you know. And JP, you know, I think I've talked to him in the past. He knows, you know, he built.
He
that
helped build
strategy.
it.
He built Michael
Yeah.
St. Nicholas.
Mm-hmm.
He built some.
Which was, I think that if he's coming out and saying something about it, then I mean,
he knew
that's
exactly
a, you
what
know,
to
it's an
expect
eyebrow
and the
raiser, yeah.
backlash, you know, that he was going to get. And I think it was very brave. But I mean, you know, to what Doc's saying, I agree. I've talked to him. I think he has a great heart, super smart, to the point where it would make me think like maybe I have it all wrong. You know, maybe I have it all wrong about this guy. Maybe my initial thoughts on him are wrong, right? He has a great person JP working for him. I probably got it all wrong, right? And then this all comes out, and I'm like, man, that's
Did you
very
feel
sad.
validated?
No, it wasn't about that. Nothing. It's not about validating it for anybody. I don't want to see anybody fall.
Sure.
Right? But I don't want to see success through corrupt means. Right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see
Yeah,
that.
but there is schadenfreude. I mean, we feel good when we feel like when people who don't like bad things happen to them. Not necessarily I don't like anybody here, but that's general schadenfreude. There's one other quick thing I was going to mention, and that is there's a principle called the power proximity principle. And that is the closer you are to people in power, the more you understand just how little power they actually have. And I think that JP has an advantage because he realizes just how little power, you know, his former boss had.
Right.
And there's something to that. The closer you are to these folks, the more you understand just how limited
For
they
me,
are.
I thought it was just crazy how this all played out on social media, because we all know with the congressman, he doesn't speak directly to the media, or at least KUAM, and so he does all of his media on Facebook, right?
No, he has media that's not. I think with a congressman, he really only entertains media that's very friendly to him, and any media that, and it's not even. We're not out to attack anybody. We're just thinking critically. We just, you know, want answers to questions, and he doesn't entertain any media that he feels is going to put him in a spot where he's going to have to answer a tough question. It's really unfortunate because you know I mean, he's a congressman. He should be wearing his big boy pants. You know, I mean. Come on to the real. But Mr. I want to ask you.
Did you see all of that on Facebook?
Yeah, I know you don't have Facebook.
Oh, you don't?
No.
No,
I
he doesn't
do.
have Facebook.
Well, I don't. I got
You can see it.
I can see it if I want to, but I
Right.
don't even want to go through it.
So is this kind of the way things are now with St. Nicholas? Is this how the politicians, you know, not wanting to go out and talk with the public, just wanting to stay on social media? Is that how it's going to be from now
I think
on?
he's hanging around Trump too long.
No.
That he's gonna run his office by, you know, by
Twitter.
Twitter.
If it
Right.
works,
Right. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
know,
That's what I
the
mean.
formula
is,
works.
We'll see if it works. I'm
No,
curious.
And,
I think we were talking about this too. Like, we kind of, when we went back to see when he decided to announce he was going to run for Congress, he made the announcement on Facebook, and he talked about using social media. And then he also talked about what people were
Amending
the
the
rest-
Organic
right,
Act and
and-
federalizing a lot of issues. And which I think, you know, those
that's where
last
I really.
couple measures that he's had.
That's what I really don't
Right.
like about him.
Yeah.
But you know, this is not. It's rare that I totally agree with you know former Congressman Underwood, but that you know, especially us like with the statehood thing, we're trying to you know actually have more you know
Autonomy.
like you know, should we become a state? That's one of the highlight is that we become more autonomous as a state, that we can have all of our own things and you know, less of federal. And here he is trying to you know, amend the Organic Act to especially on this tax issue, which already actually it's been taken care of.
Right.
local law.
You know,
Federal
so
court,
locally.
yeah.
So.
So I think he
and,
does prey on that kind of that people who have lost faith, or I mean, for whatever reason, in the local. I mean, and he presents it in a way where it's like, hey, are you for tax refunds being paid quicker, or are you not? It's a really oversimplification of the issue. You know, I find it interesting in talking to Congressman Underwood and that St. Nicholas is the only delegate who's actually trying to give the federal government more control. Every other delegate is trying
exactly.
It's
to give
true.
more
It's
Do you
autonomy.
agree?
Well,
I know Doc has his own thoughts on the feds.
You know, I gotta tell you, if Guam wanted to, we could have a lot more freedoms, we could have a lot more flexibility than we currently have. And so that's the direction we need to go in, not toward, oh, please manage our affairs and put us under a form of de facto receivership.
Wow.
And that's really what this
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And it's basically putting a kick me sign on our back.
Right.
Whoa.
I really predict they're gonna laugh, especially if it. Let's say it does make it through the House.
I don't
it's
think it
gonna
will,
go
because,
to
you
the.
know-
I'm just saying.
Yeah, okay.
If it does, it's gonna go to the conservative, the Republican-held Senate. You know, Republicans, we believe in more, local government, right? More control over our local affairs, right? Whether you're a state or not. So they're just going to go to the Republican-held Senate, and they're going to laugh. They are going to laugh. It's because it's just such a ridiculous notion. It's just such a ridiculous notion.
But it works on Facebook.
Well, of
But
course,
why
it
do you
works on
think he's doing
Facebook.
this then?
But see,
I think it's
I mean,
kinda
it's
like
obvious.
stoke the fire a little
stoke
bit.
the fire because it's going to be the same thing we've seen all the years. Well, I tried to get your tax refunds protected and get you faster, but they wouldn't let me. They're the bad guys. I tried.
okay.
He knows. He's a smart guy,
Yeah.
right? He could be working on getting EITC paid. How about
Compact
that?
impact.
Yeah.
Working compact impact issues, Jones Act issues. But what we see is this, which we know more than likely, and I don't think, I can't speak on
It has
behalf
to
of the
go
party.
through Delegate Khalili Sablan, and I mean, I don't know. He hasn't co-sponsored any of these.
Then it would have to go
organic,
to the Senate. Then it would have
amendments,
to
yeah.
go to Trump. And without Republican support, and I'll tell you, I mean, I don't represent the Republican Party. I'm a Republican. I could never get behind that, right? Not in that form. Not in that form that one guy just decides to do it and then he's just going to try to shove it down everyone's throat. I can't get behind that, right? But I think it's going to be tricky, and he knows this. But again, it's the white horse. Hey, I tried to do all this stuff for you, but they wouldn't let me. Hey, I tried to do this, but they wouldn't let me. Give me another shot,
I need another 2 years.
Give me another 2 years. I'm almost there.
If you go back to congressional hearings from a few years ago, when Guam sought to amend the Guam Organic Act, members of Congress were critical of those kinds of amendments because the response was, why can't you do this yourself? We've given you all the powers to do this yourself. And that was what the response was. And I don't think that's changed in the years that have passed since.
That's why my
Yeah.
concern is that me trying to work for statehood is that they're saying that at one time that we're not ready. We still need to learn how to speak English better and those kind of nonsense, right? And now with him, the way he's acting up there, it's almost like he's actually confirming that we're not ready to
He is. He said
handle
we're
our
not
own
adults
affairs.
yet.
There-
We're not adults yet.
I need to learn how to speak the English language better myself. So, I mean, that's
You're not doing. You need to prove yourself to. You need to prove yourself to those that really matter.
Right,
You're
yeah.
just a child.
So
But now
let's-
let me be fair though.
Okay.
I want to be fair because I know we've done a lot of that. I'll admit, on the merits, the idea itself of having something like that as a constitutional entity within a constitution is not out of the realm of norm. Some states have that.
Sure.
In order to increase taxes, you have to have
Yeah,
supermajority
yeah.
vote and have it, a referendum, or either or, right? But those are done in a different way, and
Yeah.
the state can always pull that back if they need to. They can amend their own constitution.
Yep.
But what we would have to do to change anything, if let's say we find out 10 years from now, 5 years, and this is the worst thing ever. Now we have to go back to Congress, basically, and say, sorry,
Yeah.
Yep.
we really messed up. Can
Yeah.
you please give us the autonomy back, right? And which is a ridiculous notion in itself, right? No kind of pretense of the future or what that kind of does to us, right? So there's a difference between an idea, but ideas and plans don't always go according to plan. And that's why I think having that flexibility to do it ourselves is so important. And when you give that away,
I think it's
You
just
know.
something as simple as like a congressman doesn't get along with the administration. He hates the legislature, so he's going to do anything he can to take power away from them.
well, the simplest thing would have been he should have just ran for governor and done all the things that he said no one else is doing. But nobody talks about that,
That's
right?
the dirty local politics.
Exactly. You want to do it? You be
Dirty locals.
Yeah, you dirty locals. Yeah, I would have done it for you, but these dirty locals,
Man, these dirty
don't trust
locals, I
them.
tell you.
Don't trust these dirty locals.
I've
They
never
hate-
seen
they're all
this. I mean,
corrupt.
someone to, just bash on Guam incessantly. It's just crazy. But you called it because you were here on the show a few months ago.
Didn't I call it?
You predicted that he would pick up, move to Washington, D.C., and just lob shots at the local government. And that's kind of what's happening.
Then without any responsibility for what happens here, just lob shots free and clear of any accountability of what goes on here. And I think it's really disingenuous. I said it back then, I said it now. It's predictable. It's absolutely predictable.
What about facing these allegations? I mean, you know, is a Facebook post
that was predictable too. Of course he was going to double down. You really think he was...
All allegations are baseless.
Yeah, of course he was going to double down. Did you expect anything else?
I'm always a hopeful guy.
No, but I'm saying, has there ever
I'm
been...
hopeful for an interview.
Has there ever been...
I just want an interview.
So if you look, right, and I say predictable, there's only been one instance where there was an admission of a mistake, and that played on that sympathy, was when people started... Remember, he changed his position on the senatorial pay raise, right? And when people started putting the video of him, that's when all of a sudden you see an apology come out, because he had him there red-handed with the tape.
Right.
It came very later. It came a lot later. But before, what you had was these dang dirty local politics trying to take your money, and I'm just trying to do right by you. And it's predictable. You're going to see the same thing every time, right? And you're always going to see a shot thrown and somebody else to blame, right? Oh, our staffers were new, or oh, you know, you guys don't understand federal regulations. We had to move the office.
This is the U.S. Congress, not the Guam legislature.
Oh, we trusted some people we shouldn't have trusted, right? And I think the people that know, right, and you know, especially me being a military guy, the buck stops with you, right? You can't blame your staff for anything your staffer does that is wrong. Automatically, your fault. I mean, that's how you should be looking at responsibility, but we have never seen anything like that.
And people eat it up anyway. It doesn't matter.
Have you ever heard, I'm sorry, I take responsibility, this happened with my staff? No, you don't see that. It's just my staff this. No responsibility, no claim.
So you're saying we should have at least got I did not have sexual relations with that woman?
You know, perhaps, right? Perhaps a little bit of something, but I think it was completely predictable you were going to see a double down.
So fast forward, we're having this, you know, allegedly this congressional delegation come to Guam. CODEL coming to Guam. I did a story today. There's probably, I mean, we'll see, going to be a town hall. This is the first time he's come back to Guam since these allegations surfaced. He's never really faced them. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, we never really know when he's here.
Or that's the thing. Even when he's here, you don't know he's here.
Right. He kind of ninjas in and out. Yeah.
He sneaks in and then he sneaks right back out. Yeah.
But you know, the people will get what the people want, right? And at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen.
You're leading me what, Ron?
So let me.
They're gonna, you know, it's what we voted for, right?
So do you think that when he comes here with this congressional delegation, do you think that the media is going to use the opportunity to say, hey, can we get a response?
Well, maybe not you guys, because there's no way you're getting an interview, right? I mean, you know,
it's really ridiculous. He's the only elected official who doesn't return emails or give us interviews.
You should get a ventriloquist dummy and interview it and come up with your own responses. I think that, you know, that's the classic response when people don't want to respond to you.
Right. Yeah.
If they could talk, here's what they would say.
Right.
And just mock them.
Not my fault.
Right. Exactly.
Not my fault. You don't understand. Or if
the Democrats are out to get me.
Yeah. Or, no, you didn't understand what I was saying. Right.
Yeah.
It's always something else.
You don't know much about the federal.
Right. I don't know much about the federal.
Yeah, you know much about. Yeah, exactly. You don't know much about the federal. You don't know nothing.
So how effective is this tactic, though? Because
very effective.
I feel we're the only ones talking about this now.
I know,
he's been able to move forward.
Absolutely, it's very effective because he's playing on the very worst part of our democratic society. It's people's apathy, not to look into things themselves. I mean, I'm not saying for everybody, right? But I'm saying for the good majority. Like you tell it, look at the rallying cry. I mean, you know, even with the Republicans, I'm gonna drain the swamp. Oh yeah, he's a man of the people. He's, you know, and it works. It's a proven formula. It works.
It doesn't work forever, though.
It doesn't work forever. Of course.
There's a point when there's a Doppler effect. There's a blowback. Because then people are like to their point of tolerance, and it's like, no, it's like when you have people who are dating and they have tension, and then there's a split point where it's past any point of tolerance, and that's how voters are quite often when leaders play these kinds of gambits with them. They're constantly, like you said, doubling down or whatever, and there's a point where we go past our disbelief, and that happens fairly frequently in politics. particularly when people are under heavy stress because of because they've been accused of wrongdoing. And you see that pattern over and over and over again.
So you think the congressman is stressed out?
I think that this is a definite. I think that these allegations were a definite stress for him.
You know what I'm surprised I haven't heard much for? I want to just change the subject on the federal side because I think it's key. How come, the congressman who's on the Hispanic caucus, how come the bill to make Puerto Rico a state submitted by the Democrat Party, by Puerto Rico, has not gone anywhere in Congress? It's not talked about. There are a lot of similarities with Puerto Rico and Guam, but how come that's not brought up, right? If it's an issue for Puerto Rico and there's all this talk about self-determination, that I think, even the march proved it, is an important issue for people, right? I'm not, he'll disagree and say not for most people, but it's still an important issue to people, right?
Those who feel that way feel so very intensely.
Yes.
I think
Of course,
that's
Which,
key.
fair statement. Yeah. But I'm saying things like that are not getting discussed, right? And that's where people need to start digging and asking, right? Like, hey, if you're one of those people where decolonization is important to you, how come you're not asking that question?
Yeah, I feel
because
like
because
he doesn't respond.
Exactly.
Or if you ask it on his Facebook, you get reamed by all his supporters. So I think it really kills a lot of dialogue on social media. But maybe
but that's not the platform for
platform
that. It's
for
not.
that.
It's not the platform. And so it's not the platform for dialogue and constructive conversation with him, right? But then again, he's never available for constructive dialogue, right?
Or two-way dialogue.
Two-way dialogue.
All of his communication
even
is
in the
one-way.
president. So
Mr. Harris, so we're going to close it with you. So let's say that war claims gets through. Is that green light for Congressman San Nicolas next election?
Not necessarily, because he really, it's Congressman Bordallo's work. It's just that there's a language in there that did not allow
correction.
Technical. That's all it is really. But it's Madeline's work, and
but guess who's going to take all the credit?
I don't know. There's not enough of us anyway left to matter in the election because there's less than 1,000 of us right now.
Right?
No, but it is. To me, that wouldn't change my position.
Right.
I didn't vote for him, and I will never vote for him. More so now than before. And that's my position regarding because see, like I'm not on social media. I have the capability of, but in my age group, I mean even right now, okay, I still would prefer to get my check rather than it being electronically deposited.
I'm with you. I want to hold it.
I used to go down to retirement fund just so I can get my check, right? And then I go to my own bank and deposit.
So all those people on social media, they're probably like, "Oh, look at this old geezer.
Yeah, and
he wants a paper check."
But then retirement fund forced me that I have to have an account to deposit it, otherwise I don't get a check. And
that's what I'm saying. Maybe we have to accept Congressman San Nicolas because that's just the way it's going to be.
Well, at least not for me. But I'm a creature of the past, and he needs to look forward, and that's what he's doing. He's taking advantage of the social media because a lot of his voters, I'm sure, are in that age group.
Right. Senator Esteves?
Oh well, we're all just evil, and everyone here hates Guam because we don't agree with everything he does. That's the narrative. It's going to keep getting played. We just don't like anything he does. It doesn't matter what the facts are. Facts don't matter. Facts don't matter. If you ain't with it, you're against everyone else. It's ridiculous, but he's right. I'm at the point where now just let it all play out. Let the cards fall where they fall, and sometimes whether you may agree or you may be happy or not, or you may be happy or not, you have to find peace in the fact that it's democracy.
Hey, people wanted this.
People wanted this, and it may
never.
But it's crazy. And even with the war reparations, so many people think that this is just coming out of the blue with the congressman, right? And he's doing nothing to help make sure that the facts are accurate. And he doesn't have a responsibility to, right? People think, with his bill, the feds are funding it. He's like, oh, it's so great. He got the feds to pay for it, the war reparations, all of this, and people are just eating it up. And you know what? I just gave up. I said, what can I do, right? What can I do?
Yeah.
People don't want the truth on some of those things.
They do. That's what I'm saying. I think
let
we're
it play
putting too
out.
much faith into the Facebook. And I mean, you talk to people who aren't on Facebook, look how they feel. I mean, just here's one.
All right, let's
Doc,
wrap this up.
is that gonna right? Last word, Doc?
Yeah, I think anybody who doesn't like any of the stuff we've talked about tonight, run for office.
Yeah.
Show
Don't
us how
encourage
it's
them.
done, and be a leader. Don't be a. We live in a community of cowards. That is, people are afraid to talk about things all the time, and we need to be a little bit more critical of people when they do bad things.
I
there you
did
go.
25 years of my life serving my country in the United States Navy. So, and that's one of the things that I cherish is that I am able to, exercise my free speech, that I can tell somebody to go where I want them to go, whether
Where the sun is not shining currently.
where they're not happy going there or not. So,
Well, there you go.
at
On
least,
that
yeah.
note, we'll leave it on that. So, again, our guest, Dr. McNinch, former Senator Fernando Esteves, and Mr. Eloy Hara from the Statehood Committee for Decolonization. Sabrina, Salas, Matanane, this has been the after party. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time. Until then, I'm Chris. Adios.
Adios.
Cheers.